Hey folks, this is Rhykker with the Diablo 4 Season 10 class tier list. If you're wondering what class to play this season, this video should help you out. Every class can do all the content in the game. Every class can crush Torment 4, and this is more true than ever in Season 10, which is a huge power creep season. The season theme. Everyone is going to be about an order of magnitude stronger than they were. If you put in the time, a ton of builds will be able to do Pit 100 and more. And maxroll.gg has the build guides to let you do that. Now, disclaimer, these are best guesses going into the season. This is based on the public test server everyone got to play on, as well as the subsequent patch notes, which, nerf some of the OP stuff. Still though, I gotta stress, this is a huge power creep season. The chaos perks, aka the new powers, these truly are transformative and huge multipliers. So many of these are going to double, triple, quadruple your damage, and then combine that with the chaos armor. These allow you to now equip certain items into armor slots. So think amulets or weapons that you can now equip into armor slots that would typically compete with other slots, allowing you to slap additional multipliers onto your build. That's why there are builds that will be 10 times more powerful than they were. Now, as we get into the tier list, a reminder, as always, about my criteria. This tier list is not just which class is going to push the furthest in the pit. We'll cover that. But I look at how well a class performs in 4 categories. How good it is at leveling 1 to 60. I don't put a lot of focus on that, but I do factor it in. How good it is at speed leveling, general endgame content, how good it is at pushing the pit, and how good it is at bossing. And for a class to do well in one of those categories, it means it must have multiple builds that do well at that thing. So for a class to be rated highly on my tier list, it needs to have multiple builds that perform well in all 4 of these aspects. If a class has only one build, and it's the best build of the game, but it's the only one build that you can play on this class, the other builds are bad, then that class is not going to be the top class by this rating. But again, I'm going to talk about what some of the best builds are. So if you're just looking for which class has the one build to rule them all, we'll talk about that stuff too. So without further ado, let's jump into the tier list, starting in F tier, where we have nobody. Last season we had the Barbarian in F tier. Barbarian is no longer an F tier because it's in D tier. Still the lowest tier class. That doesn't mean Barbarian is bad. Folks, if you like Barbarian, play Barbarian. There are good Barbarian builds to play. Again, you're going to be so much stronger than last season that if you play Barbarian, you'll think it's the best class anyway. The thing with the Barbarian is that it's one of the worst classes for leveling 1 to 60. It's one of the worst speed farming classes, and it's looking like it really only has one solid endgame build, and that's Mighty Throw. And Mighty Throw is also actually its best leveling build. For leveling, Barbarian has a number of decent options, but nothing that's super strong. You can go Rend, you can go Whirlwind, Hammer the Ancients, Upheaval, Double Swing, and for speed farming endgame content, it's falling behind other classes as well. Whirlwind, Earthquake, Rupture, Bash, Lunging Strike as well, all solid options, but none of them are going to be as fast as the top builds from other classes. Now, Mighty Throw is a special build. It is basically the one-shot killer, which is why it's going to excel at bossing as well as pushing high pits. You're probably not going to like the gameplay in pushing high pits, but it's likely to be the Barbarian's top pit pushing build. Lunging Strike overall is a more enjoyable build to play, but it's pretty fun to one-shot bosses at least. If I were going a Barbarian this season, I'd level up with one of those leveling builds, and then I'd move into Lunging Strike, and maybe make a Mighty Throw for bossing and pit pushing. That brings us to the C tier, where we got nobody. That is the gulf that we have between Barbarian and the other classes. So, to the B tier, we got Spiritborn. Now, Spiritborn has different problems than the Barbarian. Spiritborn has excellent leveling builds. Spiritborn has excellent pit pushing builds, and it's got excellent speed farming builds. But compared to other classes, it struggles at bossing. For leveling 1 to 60, we got a number of solid options. Evade, Quill Volley, Stinger. For speed farming, Evade, Stinger, Crushing Hand, all excellent. For pushing the pit, Touch of Death, Payback, and Crushing Hand. But when it comes to bossing, the Spiritborn doesn't have any excellent build that's going to compete with other classes. Best it's going to do is Touch of Death, maybe Quill Volley. So if I were to make a Spiritborn in Season 10, I would level up with Evade. I would stick with Evade for general endgame content. Super fun, super fast build. But then for bossing and pushing the pit, I'd go Touch of Death. Touch of Death may be the singular best build at pit pushing in Season 10. If it's not the number one, it might be the number two. Now you might notice we didn't talk about Thorn's Balazans, which was the hot stuff last season. Balazans got a significant nerf, a 1-2 punch of being nerfed and having some of the double dips fixed. You could still run Balazans, but it's nowhere close to as strong as it was. That takes us to the A tier. Here we have the Necromancer. Now Necromancer is all around excellent. The only thing where it's not going to be able to compete with other classes is speed farming and game content. It just doesn't have builds that can move as fast. Mobility has always been something that Necros struggle with relative to other classes. It's just not going to have the move or kill speed to blitz about the screen. It's got excellent leveling builds in either Minion or Blood Surge. Both really strong, can't go wrong. For speed farming, Blood Wave remains a top build. Shadow Blight though, we'll talk about Shadow Blight, but Shadow Blight, another excellent option. For bossing, Blood Wave and Shadow Blight, top options. Also now Bone Spear and Bone Spirit. Those builds historically have kind of popped on, popped off, popped on, popped off. They are options. Then for pit pushing, Bone Spirit remains an option. It's a little trickier to play. Shadow Blight remains the top dog here. It's going to outcompete Blood Wave, most likely. Shadow Blight really is the rising star for the Necromancer this season. So if you're sick of Blood Wave, you have an arguably better alternative now. So if I were to make a Necromancer this season, I would level with Blood Surge. I just really like Blood Surge. It's a lot of fun. If you want something easier and still excellent, you can go Minion, no problem. And then I would just go into Shadow Blight for literally everything else once I hit endgame. Shadow Blight is probably the best Necromancer build by far, overall. And joining the Necromancer in the A tier, we have the Rogue. Now the Rogue has a different problem from the Necromancer in that it's not going to push as far in the pit, or it's not going to have as many builds that push as far into the pit as the other classes. It's arguably the weakest class at pit pushing, but for speed farming, it's amazing. For bossing, it's amazing. For leveling, you got your one excellent build now, Dance of Knives. We used to include some other builds as top leveling builds for Rogue, but Dance of Knives just far outclasses any other Rogue leveling build. If you're going to level a Rogue, level 1 to 60 Dance of Knives. It's so fun. And Dance of Knives has been buffed as well. It's better at killing elites now, so it stays viable in the endgame for longer. It makes for an excellent speed farming build. It's actually also pretty good at bossing. It won't be a top Rogue build for bossing, but you could boss with it and it will be a good choice. But it's not going to push in the pit nearly as far as other Rogue builds. Now, other good speed farming options include Flurry and Death Trap, the classic. It's still around. Other excellent bossing choices for the Rogue, Death Trap, Twisting Blades. This is where it lives now. It's no longer a good speed farming build as it was in the past, but hey, at least it's found some use. Rain of Arrows and Heartseeker, also excellent bossing options. Rogue has so many solid bossing builds. But then for pit pushing, it really has no build that stands toe-to-toe with the top builds of the other classes. When I eventually make my top 10 builds video for pit pushing, Rogue's going to be either not in the top 10 at all or expected to be rather low on the list. Its best pit pushing options include Rapid Fire, Death Trap, Rain of Arrows, and Heartseeker. Death Trap likely to be the one that takes the cake there. Death Trap remains the best overall all-rounder build for the Rogue, so if I were to go a Rogue in Season 10, I'd level with Dance of Knives, progress into Dance of Knives endgame variant, and then use that to farm up Death Trap, and then once I got Death Trap, that's my end-all be-all build. And that takes us into the S tier, where we find the Sorceress. The Sorceress is excellent at everything but pit pushing, where it's just very, very good. For leveling, we got a few solid options in Ball Lightning, Chain Lightning, Hydra, and Incinerate. Go with any of those. Have a smooth 1 to 60. For bossing, Hydra, still As an endgame build, yes, Hydra did get nerfed this season, but because of Chaos perks and Chaos powers, you're unlikely to feel any weaker. Hydra remains a top build for the Sorceress. Meteor and Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning coming out as re-emerging as an excellent build for Sorcerer. But those three are going to be your top bossing builds. For speed farming, my goodness, is the Sorcerer spoiled for choice. Lightning Spear, Frozen Orb, Fireball, Ice Shards, Incinerate, Meteor, Hydra, Chain Lightning, Ball Lightning, Inferno, Blizzard. Any of those are super fast top speed farming builds. Any of those will be faster than a Barbarian. If you really want to have as much choice as possible, it's hard to go wrong with the Sorcerer. The thing is, for pit pushing, it's going to be Ball Lightning by a mile. So I do expect overall Ball Lightning is going to be the build du jour, the flavor of the month for the Sorcerer. And if I do make a Sorcerer, and I likely will make a Sorcerer as my second class, I'm going to level with Ball Lightning and stay Ball Lightning and just Ball Lightning everything. And that takes us to the last class here in S tier, the last class period, the Druid. And the Druid's only weakness is the 1 to 60, which for some people happens so fast that they don't even care about it and think it shouldn't even be factored into what a class's rating ought to be. So if you don't care about that 1 to 60 at all, then Druid is the best class of the game in Season 10. Leveling with Druid, you do have some decent options. They're not going to be as fast as other classes, but Shred, Pulverize, Lightning Storm, they're your best bets. Then speed farming in the endgame, probably nothing's going to be faster than Cataclysm, but Shred is right up there. Shred's super fun. I was playing it on PTR. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm going Druid this season. I'm starting Druid at least. And Shred is going to be my speed farming build. Now, Pulverize is also good for speed farming. It won't be as fast as Shred, though. We also got Flesh Render build for Druid here that is pretty good at speed farming, and Companion as well, also pretty good for speed farming. But these three builds, where they excel is going to be at bossing. Pulverize, Flesh Render, Companion. Companion Druid on PTR was insane. There were actually bugs with the Druid. It was just way overperforming. They've fixed it, they've nerfed it. So I hope we're not overestimating the Druid. Unlikely, but yeah, even after the nerfs and the fixes, Companion Druid is still going to be a very good option in Season 10. And those same three builds, again, Pulverize, Flesh Render, Companion. For pit pushing, they're going to be pushing the deepest into the pit as well for the Druid. Shred and Cataclysm for bossing, they're good, they're not as good. Same thing with pit pushing, except Cataclysm falls off even more in pit pushing than Shred does. So my plan for Season 10, I'm going to start Druid. I'm going to go with a Pulverized Druid for leveling. I'm going to transition into the Pulverized endgame build. And I'm going to use that Pulverized for everything other than speed farming, where I'm going to farm up a Shred build to handle speed farming. So folks, that's my tier list, but I ask you, what class are you planning to play in Season 10? Sound off in the comments. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more Diablo content.